My name is Jason. I live in a rural town in Iowa called Emmett Township. It's a quiet place. Nothing much happens here. Just long dirt roads, rusted mailboxes, and endless fields of corn. But in October 2019, something happened that I can't forget. It started with a whistle. It was around 3:13 a.m. the first time I heard it. I checked the clock beside my bed. At first, I thought it was just the wind. But it came again. 3 soft, broken notes. Like someone trying to whistle a tune and failing. The next night, same time, same tune. It felt off, like it didn't belong here. Our house is surrounded by cornfields. The nearest neighbor is a mile away. At that hour, no one should be out there. By the third night, I was ready. I stayed up, listened. Then I heard it again. 3 notes. Then silence. I leaned toward the window, heart pounding. Nothing, just darkness. But I felt it, like something was out there, watching me. On the 4th night, I made a mistake. I whistled back. Same 3 notes. Low and slow. Then I waited. It answered. 3 notes. But louder. Closer. Right under my window. I froze. I slammed the window shut. Didn't sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, I went outside. Just to prove it was nothing. But then I saw them. Footprints. Bare. Human. Pressed deep into the dirt. No prints going in. No prints going out. Like something just stood there all night. Watching me. I showed my dad. He brushed it off. Probably some drifter. Just keep the shotgun close. But our dog, Bucky, started acting strange. He wouldn't go near the window. Wouldn't bark. Just stared out into the corn. Growling. Whining. I asked our neighbor, Mrs. Heller. She's lived here for decades. When I told her about the whistle, she went quiet. Then she asked, "You didn't answer it, did you?" I nodded. She looked pale. Scared. She told me a story about the Kirkman family who lived here long ago. Their boy went missing in the cornfield for 3 days. When he came back, he wouldn't talk. Just hummed a weird tune. A year later, he disappeared again. This time for good. She said, "If it whistles, don't ever answer." That night, I set my phone to record audio. At exactly 3:13 a.m., the whistle came. Then footsteps. Slow, crunching leaves outside my window. Then I heard the window slide open. But I had locked it. The room went cold. Heavy. Breathing. Not mine. Something was inside. I slid into the closet, phone still recording. Held the door shut. Through the slits, I saw it. Tall. Too tall. Thin. Wrong. Its arms bent the wrong way. Skin pale and loose. It whistled, but not with its mouth. The sound came from a deep cut across its throat. Then everything went black. I woke up in the cornfield. Barefoot. Arms scratched. Mouth full of dirt. Like someone tried to bury me. My phone was corrupted. No audio. We moved 2 weeks later. But every year on Halloween, at exactly 3:13 a.m., I hear it. 3 broken notes. Somewhere outside. Still waiting. Still calling me back. My name is Marcus. This story happened last year. I haven't told anyone until now. Because I know what they'll think. That I'm crazy. That I imagined it. But I swear, every word I'm about to say is true. I had just turned 29. Life wasn't going well. My job was draining me. My girlfriend left. I had no savings. I felt like I was fading. Then, out of nowhere, I got a call from a lawyer in Washington State. My uncle Silas had passed away. He was my mom's older brother. I barely knew him. Only met him once when I was 8. He lived alone in a remote part of Washington. The town was called Ferndale Crossing. Population 418. The kind of town where everyone knew each other, and no one used GPS. The lawyer said Silas left me his house. Not just the house. The land, the river access, the woods behind it. Everything. At first, I thought it was a scam, but it was real, and I had nothing to lose. I packed what little I owned, quit my job, and took the drive north. 15 hours straight, the farther I drove, the quieter the roads became. Thick trees lined both sides. No phone signal for miles. It was like going back in time. I reached Ferndale Crossing just before sunset. A few gas stations. A diner. A hardware store. That's it. I found the house 10 minutes outside town, down a winding gravel road that passed through dense forest. Then it opened up. A clearing by a wide, still river. The house sat right on the edge. Old, tall, 2 stories, covered in moss. It had green shutters and a sagging porch. It looked like something from a horror film. But it was mine. I parked and stepped out. The air smelled wet, like pine, old wood, and river water. A soft breeze blew, and the trees whispered. The house groaned as I opened the door. Inside was dusty but solid. Old furniture, heavy bookshelves, a cracked fireplace. I felt something strange. Like the air was too thick. Like someone was watching me. I shook it off. Just nerves, I thought. The first night, I slept in the back bedroom. It faced the river. I left the window open for air. Around 2 a.m., I woke up freezing. The air was sharp. The window curtain blew gently. I sat up and saw a light. Across the river. I blinked. It was faint. Just a flicker in the top window of a house across the water. I hadn't noticed any house there before. But sure enough, through the trees, I could just make out the shape of a burned-down building. The roof was half gone. Blackened walls. A collapsed chimney. I stared. The light went out. I lay back down. Told myself it was lightning. Or a trick of the eye. But the next night, it happened again, same time, 2:09 a.m. The light flickered in that same window. Then it stayed on, faint yellow, like a candle burning far away. I stared for 10 minutes. Then, I saw something, a figure, standing at the window, motionless, tall, watching. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I asked the diner waitress in town about the house. Across the river, she said. You mean the Granger place? I nodded. She frowned. That house burned down 20 years ago. Everyone inside died. Old woman, her son, a little girl. She leaned in close.
No one goes near it.
I tried to stay calm. Maybe someone was squatting there. Maybe it was an animal. I avoided looking out the window that night. Pulled the curtain shut. Tried to sleep. But at exactly 2:09 a.m., the floorboards creaked. Not in my room, but from the hallway. I held my breath. Another creak. Closer. Soft. Slow. I sat up and grabbed my flashlight. I stepped out. The hallway was dark. Silent. Then I heard it. A whisper. It wasn't coming from inside. It was coming from across the river. I ran to the window and pulled the curtain aside. The house was glowing again, and the figure was there. But this time, it raised a hand and pointed at me. Then I heard it. Clear. Sharp.
Marcus.
It said my name. I didn't tell anyone what I saw. Not that they'd believe me. In Millbrook, people didn't talk about the river unless it flooded. They especially didn't talk about what might be across it. But I couldn't stop thinking about that house. The way it glowed. The figure in the window. How it knew my name.
Marcus.
That voice, whispered through the dark, clung to me like wet cloth. I told myself I was imagining things. Stress, grief, lack of sleep. But that night, I did something stupid. I went back. It was just past midnight when I reached the river. This time, the mist was even thicker. The moonlight struggled to break through. I stood on the dock, staring across. The house wasn't glowing now. Just a black silhouette, quiet and waiting. The rowboat was still there. It shouldn't have been. I'd left it tied on the other side. But there it was, rocking gently, the chain broken. I should have walked away. Instead, I climbed in. And again, I crossed. The hallway shifted behind me as I moved. The doors blinked. One screamed. I reached the end, and there she was. The girl. She stood in front of a large wooden door carved with symbols, spirals, rivers, fire. She smiled. She's waiting for you. I didn't ask who. I knew. Something older. Something hungry. Something that didn't live in the house. It was the house. The girl stepped aside. The door creaked open. Inside was the nursery again. But this time, the crib was full. Of ash. And bones. Tiny bones. I stepped inside. The walls closed behind me. No door. No exit. Just me, The crib and the mirror. The same one that shattered last time. Now whole again. I looked into it. I didn't see myself. I saw the house. But not from outside, from above. Like I was watching it from the sky. It was burning. Screams echoed through the mirror. The mother, the father, the boy, and the girl, standing still, smiling. She lit the match, and the house screamed with them. The fire didn't kill the house. It fed it. The mirror cracked again. I reached for it, and felt the glass was soft. Like water. I plunged my hand through, and was pulled forward, falling into dark. I woke up in the rowboat, mid-river. But this time, the river wasn't calm. It was rising, fast, churning like a beast. The boat rocked violently. Waves slapped the sides. Fog turned black. Then I saw hands, reaching from the water. Dozens. Pale, burned, clawing up the sides of the boat. Pulling. Whispers everywhere.
Stay. Join us. No more time.
I screamed and grabbed the oars. Rowed like hell. Behind me, the house glowed again. Not golden. Red. Burning. Alive. I didn't stop until I crashed into the shore. I ran. Didn't look back. Didn't breathe until I was inside my mother's house. Door locked. Lights on. But the river. I could hear it now. All the way from my window. It was rising. I opened the curtain. And the glow was there. The house. Closer. Like the river had shrunk. And on my window pane, 3 wet handprints. Small. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the whispers. Felt the boat rocking. Saw those hands clawing at the edges. But most of all, I saw her. The little girl. Smiling in the flames. Morning came gray and cold. I packed my things. Called my boss. Told him I was cutting the vacation short. Told my mom I'd explain later. She just looked at me and said, "It's come back, hasn't it?" I froze. "What?" "The river," she said. "You went across, didn't you?" I nodded slowly. Her face fell. "I prayed you wouldn't hear it." That's when she told me everything. Back in the 80s, she'd gone across too. Everyone in Millbrook had heard the stories. But curiosity, it grabs tight when you're young. She went with a friend. Only one of them came back. The Granger house was real, but it wasn't always in our world. "It floats," she said, "between places, between times. And when it burns, it opens." I didn't understand. "It's not a haunting, Marcus," she whispered. "It's a hunger. The house feeds on attention. The more you notice it, the closer it gets." I left town by noon. Didn't tell anyone where I was going. Didn't even pack properly. Just drove and drove. But that night, no matter how far I went, the dreams came. The girl, the whisper, the fire. And then I got the text. It was from a blocked number. A photo. My house back in Millbrook. The window. And me in it, staring out. But I hadn't been there in days. I turned the car around. It was a mistake. I know that now. But something inside me whispered, "You have to end it." You brought it back. When I reached the river again, it was gone. The water had dried up. The land was split open, like the riverbed had become a scar. The house. It was on my side now. No longer across. It stood at the edge of town like it had always been there. Except everyone walked by like it wasn't there. No one looked at it. No one heard the whisper. Except me. And it was louder than ever. I stepped inside. The door didn't creak this time. It sighed, like it recognized me. Inside, the walls pulsed red. The nursery was gone. Now it was just one long hallway lined with mirrors. Each one showed a different version of me. Me as a boy, standing in the attic. Me rowing the boat in an endless black ocean. Me burning. But one mirror was different. It showed the little girl, standing behind me. I spun around, nothing. Looked back, she was closer. Mirror me didn't move, but her reflection did, smiling. Then she leaned into the glass and whispered, "You brought me back. Now you have to stay." The walls groaned. The floor turned hot. The house was catching fire again, but it wasn't burning down. It was burning up, growing, feeding. I ran, room to room, through memories that weren't mine, until I came to a room with a single chair. And her. She sat waiting. Not a girl now. Older. Twisted. Hair like smoke. Eyes like cracked porcelain. "You crossed the river twice?" she said. No one does that. I shook. What are you? She smiled. The first spark. The last whisper. The match that never goes out. She stood. And now, you burn. The fire exploded. I screamed as it wrapped around me. But it didn't hurt. Not at first. It showed me. The hundreds before me. The hundreds to come. The house was a loop. A trap. Every generation, someone hears the whistle, sees the glow, crosses over, and the house gets stronger. It never stopped burning. It just waited for the next spark. I woke up in the river, the real river, choking on water, gasping for breath, dragged out by a fisherman who said he saw someone rowing through fog. I asked how long I was gone. He said, 3 days. Now I'm home, but nothing feels real. The mirrors flicker, the pipes whisper, and every night at 9 a.m. Creaks, closer, soft, slow, and the river, it's rising again. And tonight, the house isn't across the river anymore. It's next door, and there's a handprint on my window. Small, wet, still dripping. This happened about 2 years ago. I was 22 and living in London at the time. I was working remotely, and my cousin Jamie invited me to stay at his house in the countryside for a few weeks. He lived in a small village in North Yorkshire. It was the kind of place where everything was quiet, and there were more sheep than people. At first, I thought it would be a nice break. I could work from there, get some fresh air, and enjoy the peace and quiet. Jamie's house was an old family cottage. 2 floors, wooden walls, and a fireplace. It looked peaceful, surrounded by woods and far away from the town. But the moment I arrived, something felt off. When I got off the bus, the village was completely silent. I don't mean normal countryside silence. I mean strange, empty, heavy silence. No birds, no animals, just wind. Jamie picked me up in his old truck. On the way to the house, I asked him why it was so quiet. He just said, "You get used to it." His house was about 15 minutes outside the village. Trees lined the road, and there were no streetlights. The cottage sat alone, surrounded by forest. It was peaceful, but also too isolated. Inside, the place smelled like old wood. The floors creaked. There was barely any phone signal. No internet, just old furniture, dusty shelves, and a strange feeling I couldn't explain. That night, we sat by the fire and talked. Jamie brought up something strange. He told me not to go outside after dark. He said,
"People around here say something lives in the woods. They call it the Watcher."
I laughed. I thought he was joking. But then he looked serious and added, "If you hear tapping on your window, don't look outside." That night, I went to bed in the guest room. It was upstairs, with a small window facing the forest. At around 2 in the morning, I woke up thirsty. My phone was almost dead, and it was very dark. I grabbed my flashlight and walked down the hallway to the kitchen. That's when I heard it. 3 slow taps on the window. I froze. It was coming from the living room. I whispered Jamie's name. No answer. I stepped closer and peeked into the room. Nothing there. I told myself it was just a tree branch or some animal. I got my glass of water and went back upstairs. But just as I was about to fall asleep, I heard something again. It wasn't tapping this time. It was footsteps, slow, crunching through the grass, getting closer to the house. Then, 3 more taps. This time, on my bedroom window. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. And I didn't look. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I stayed under the blanket, eyes wide open, listening for any sound. But after the tapping, everything went silent again. Not even the wind. In the morning, I tried to forget about it. Told myself it was a bad dream or just an animal. Jamie was already making breakfast. I asked him if he heard anything last night. He looked at me for a second, then said, "Nope." "What?" I told him about the tapping. He didn't say anything at first. Then he asked, "You didn't look, right?" I shook my head. He just nodded and said, "Good." That afternoon, I walked out behind the house, curious to see if there were trees near the window. But there weren't. The space behind the guest room window was wide open. Just grass. No branches. Nothing that could have made that sound. Then I noticed something else. Footprints. In the dirt, right under the window. Bare feet. Long steps. Deep impressions. Like someone heavy had been standing there for a while. I followed the prints a few feet, but they just stopped. No turn. No direction. They just ended. Like the person vanished. That night, Jamie went to bed early. Said he had a headache. I stayed up in the living room, trying to distract myself with a book. But around 11 p.m., the silence felt too heavy again. Like the house was waiting for something. I turned on some music, low volume, just to break the tension. Then I saw something through the window. Not clearly, just movement. A dark shape standing between the trees. Still, watching. I turned off the music. The figure didn't move. I reached for my phone to take a picture, but the screen was black. Dead. And when I looked back, the figure was gone. I locked all the doors. Closed every curtain. I didn't want to see anything else. As I went up the stairs, I noticed Jamie's door was wide open. But the room was empty. His bed was untouched. And the window was open. Cold wind blew through the room. I called his name. No answer. I searched the whole house. Nothing. Jamie was gone. No note. No call. Just gone. And then, as I stood in the hallway, trying to figure out what to do, I heard footsteps on the porch. Slow. Heavy. And then, tap, 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 on the front door. I stood frozen in the hallway. The tapping at the door came again. Slower this time. 3 taps. Then silence. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just listened. After a full minute of silence, I finally gathered the courage to step downstairs. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't make a sound. I peeked through the peephole. There was nothing outside. Just darkness. But when I slowly unlocked the door and opened it a crack, I saw something on the ground. It was Jamie's phone, covered in dirt. The screen was cracked. There were scratch marks on the back. Long, thin claw-like scratches. I stepped outside and called his name. No answer. The woods were pitch black. The air was cold and still. I knew I shouldn't, but I took a few steps forward into the yard. Then I heard something behind me. Back at the house. A whisper. Clear as day. It said my name. I spun around. No one there. But the guest room light was on now. I know for a fact I had turned it off. I ran back inside, locked every door, and shut myself in the bedroom. My heart was racing. I kept the flashlight in my hand all night. But the whispering didn't stop. Voices. Soft. Repeating my name. Sometimes from the hallway. Sometimes from outside the window. At one point, I swear I heard Jamie's voice, calling me from the woods. But something was wrong with it. It didn't sound real. It was too slow. Too broken. Like a recording played at the wrong speed. By sunrise, I had made up my mind. I was leaving. I packed everything. Grabbed Jamie's phone. Didn't even brush my teeth. I just wanted out. But when I opened the front door, there were footprints again. Bare. Wet. Leading from the forest to the porch. And then leading back. But just one set. Like someone came to the house. And walked away. Alone. No sign of Jamie. No blood. No clothes. Nothing. Just a message carved into the wood of the porch. 4 words. Deep. Scratched in. Don't look at it. I didn't wait. I left the house immediately. Walked straight to the village. No buses that early. No taxis either. I walked 6 miles until I got phone signal. When it connected, I called the police. Told them my cousin was missing. Told them everything. Except the part about the tapping, the voices, the figure in the woods. They sent a search team to the house later that day. I waited in the village pub while they looked. When they came back, they said there was no sign of Jamie. No tracks. No struggle. No damage inside the house. But one of the officers, an older guy, pulled me aside after the others left. He said, "You stayed at the cottage last night?" I nodded. He looked pale, hesitant. Then he said, "You know?" There's a reason no one in this village ever buys that property. I asked why. He said, because we've lost people there before. He told me the land the cottage sits on is old, older than the village. The forest used to belong to an ancient estate, long gone now, but for generations, people have spoken of something watching from the woods. A presence. Some call it a spirit. Others say it's not human at all. It waits in the trees, and it chooses people. Not everyone sees it. Only those who are alone, those who stay too long. And once you hear it speak your name, he said, it never forgets you. I left that village the same day, blocked the number from the police station, changed my phone, moved to a new city. I told myself it was over. But a month later, I woke up at 2:09 a.m. to the sound of 3 slow taps.